And now for our feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
Citadel baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
Finally, greetings and a good Friday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes, not just cases. MotleyRice.com, driven by our friends and yours at Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at StokesVW.com as well. You can head to jbandgoldwatershow.com for all of our available platforms, all the information you need to have on us, and you can always download the app. We encourage you to do so. It's very easy. Because when you think, oh, yeah, JB and Goldwater's on, you just hit a button, and there you go. You can pull us right up on your phone. The Share Healthcare chat lines are open, and they are active already. 843-321-8893. If you'd like to send a text, do so. Darren can take that text, pop it into our show. We can fuss and discuss with you. And you can always do that on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or wherever you may be watching. And we can always use those comments as well in our programming. Speaking of which, as always, every day, and of course, doubled down on Fridays, it is jam-packed. Rafael Esparza will join us from Vegas at 12:30. He's out there for a big fight tomorrow. That's the WBC World Heavyweight title, Wilder and Fury. So we'll get his thoughts on that, in addition to the playoffs that are ongoing now in Major League Baseball. And of course, this weekend, the NFL and college football will once again take center stage. So we'll get through all of that and tell you how you can make some money. We're also going to tell you which Major League Baseball team could be on the brink of costing Vegas a lot of money. There's one in the playoffs, and the folks in Vegas are saying, yeah, we don't need them to win it because of what the odds were before the season for them to win it, if that is any hint as to who that may be. We also, of course, at 1 o'clock on Fridays have the Big Gamecock Preview Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice. JC Shurburtt is in the saddle at 1:05, and then Michael Flint will follow around 1:35. Gamecocks and Vols tomorrow on Rocky Top at noon. Tennessee will be in all black uniforms. They did wear black jerseys in 2009 against the Gamecocks. Lane Kiffin coached that team. It was rainy. It was cold. It was Halloween, and South Carolina lost. I was there. I remember it very well. So we'll get through plenty in that game. There's a lot to discuss in this football game, a lot of interesting notes to pass along, get JC's thoughts. We'll get Michael's thoughts. This is a really interesting week, Darren, for Michael, because Michael, as a former player, one of the smartest football minds I know out there, he's our analyst, and he sees it all like a coach sees it almost, and this is not a good matchup, quite frankly, for South Carolina from an X's and O's standpoint. Mm-hmm. So I'm really anxious to get his thoughts on what you do more so offensively, which has been a disaster for South Carolina, to slow down the Vols offense. Like, yeah, Gamecocks defensively, they're going to get some stops. They're going to get theirs. They're pretty good on that side of the football. But eventually you break when somebody runs this type of tempo, and we're going to give you a crazy stat on that in just a little while as well. And so you might look up on the scoreboard and see 30-something points or more, and you go, wow, the defense got shredded. Well, Yeah and no. The offense has to be helpful in a situation like this. So we're going to get to all that today. We've got all of our picks to get to. It's going to be another fun Friday. Darren's going to be calling a game tonight on TV if you want to watch that in the low country. So certainly the weekend is here. We're excited about it. And my bourbon is staring at me in the face.
Like literally right behind your camera. Your bourbon's
right at it.
It's teasing you right behind the camera.
I brought Buffalo with me. Yeah.
There you go. I forgot. I was talking to the high school coaches this morning. I forgot that Shane Fiddler, Ashley Ridge's head coach, is a Pennsylvania guy. His phone number is still from York, Pennsylvania. Yeah. And he ended the conversation with, tomorrow, 4:00. So I liked that. I carried that into the conversation with West Ashley's head coach, whose defensive line coach is Chris Mazik, a Penn State grad who played defensive line for the Nittany Lions. I'm not sure if we crossed paths when we were up there or not. He may have been just a touch before me. I do agree with you. I think it is not a good matchup for South Carolina. We'll get much more into that. I've been saying for a while that I'm higher on Tennessee than a lot of people. Hendon Hooker has emerged as a guy that can lead this offense. They could run the ball. They could throw the ball. And if you can't pick up first downs and move the chains, it's going to be a long afternoon.
Yeah, one of the first things I'm going to get to with JC is what is a perfect start for South Carolina? What's the perfect scenario for the Gamecocks tomorrow to open this game?
Mm-hmm.
Give me best case scenario. Totally off in dreamland. What is the best case scenario for South Carolina? And let's see if that comes to fruition. We do know that this will come to fruition. The 2-minute drill. It does every single Friday. We never let you down. Never, never, never. One of the state football teams did play last night. That was Coastal. They throttled Arkansas State. That's old Butch Jones. Great God. I don't think that guy's a very good football coach. 52-20. Coastal 6-0. They've got a long time before they play again. They play on Wednesday, October the 20th in Boone. Watch out. If they get through that one, they might go undefeated this year, boys and girls. We'll read the schedule here in just a little bit. Last night in baseball, games certainly weren't as good as the first two that we saw in the postseason. A 6-1 Astros win over the White Sox. They now lead that series 1-0. Tampa over Boston 5-0. Randy Arozarena stole home in that game. I knew he was going to. He was playing with it, and Boston was so stupid in how they were just let him go. Let's play the shift. We'll get to that in just a minute. Today's slate's pretty good. 2:07 MLB Network, Sox, Astros. The Braves open against the Brewers in their division series. Morton and Burns at 4:37 on TBS. Frenchie's in the booth for that one. Sox and Rays on Fox Sports 1 at 7:02 tonight, not 7:03. That one has Shane Baz and Chris Sale. Dodgers Giants, game 1, 9:37 TBS from Oracle between Ferris Bueller's brother Walker and Logan Webb with San Francisco. As I mentioned, high school football tonight. Darren has the Ashley Ridge West Ashley game. A lot of Ashleys there in West Ashley. You can catch that at 7:30, certainly if you would like to do so. And then the college football slate started last night, but tonight there could be a sneaky good one. If you're a late night owl type person, you want to stay up and watch Stanford and Arizona State at 10:30 on ESPN. Arizona State's a 13-point favorite. Stanford pulled an upset over Oregon last week. And then obviously we know what the rest of this is this weekend, leading off with Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, Ole Miss at noon tomorrow. And we will discuss all of those football games. But that is your 2-minute drill. Share Healthcare, sharehealthcare.com. More affordable, more options, user-friendly. Sharehealthcare.com. Take charge of your medical future as low as $149 a month. Holy moly. $149. Seriously. And we actually know a family that is on Share Healthcare and has been brilliant for their family of 4. Sharehealthcare.com. Just check into it if you feel like you need a better option, a more affordable option for the healthcare coverage that your family has. They, of course, are the partners for our chat room, which Aaron, David, and all of you are in. So, Aaron, are you on the way to Rocky Top or not? I know that he said he was going.
Wasn't that the conversation earlier in the week, looking for suggestions? He may have been the one to kickstart that.
Yeah, I think so. And I mentioned Calhoun's. There's a really neat bar called Cool Beans on Cumberland Ave. Probably not even a 5-minute drive from the ballpark, but a little bit further of a walk. So if you get a chance to go there, it's a really neat place. It's just interestingly set up. You actually go in kind of the back door. It's a really, really cool place. So enjoy. Hopefully you bring some luck up there for the Gamecocks. David's still waiting for the day that talking about me, JB, abbreviates YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook when we open the show is UTwitface. Nice. Kind of like Panther Cocks. You can follow the Panther Cocks on UTwitface. Yeah, I hear you. Anybody that missed that joke, that was when Stephon Gilmore signed with Carolina. And Steven, I saw a wedding picture that Mike Morgan posted. I now understand why he got married on a Wednesday evening. Congrats, Mike. Yeah, Mike is a great, great dude. He's got a wonderful girl. She's from Kentucky, a bluegrass girl. And so he's keeping it in the SEC. Mike actually went to Florida, for those that don't know that. And so they're going to have a good little rivalry going on there. And he's a Gator. I didn't mention that in his segment the other day. I didn't want to rub it in his face too much, but her Wildcats beat his Gators, last weekend. So that's going to be a neat little family rivalry moving forward for Mike Morgan. All right. So kind of a couple off the radar things to get to here, and then we'll get into some weekend picks and we'll get to Raphael. All right. But Darren, I didn't even tell you that I was going to bring this up today for you to kind of go through the graphic side of things. But this is amazing. A 1911 shoeless Joe Jackson photo that he personally signed sold. I got to read, so bear with me for a second here. At Christie's and Hunt auctions in New York, in the auction called Extra Innings, a private collection of important baseball memorabilia, sold yesterday, signed photo by Joe Jackson, the only one that anybody knows of, for $1.47 million. A signed photo, shoeless Joe, 1.47.
I would have thought when you started the story that it would be in the double that range. Figured there'd be more than 1.4. I mean, that's something. First of all, that belongs in the Shoeless Joe Museum in Greenville, but that's a different conversation because they're clearly not going to get it unless whoever just dropped $1.5 million wants to give it to them. But that seems like it would be a little more valuable. Not that 1.4 million isn't valuable. That seems more valuable than $1.5 million.
Well, yes, it may, but let me put this in a little bit of perspective. Let me add some context to this. Mm-hmm. So this auction was 246 lots, which is how they divide them up. Mm-hmm. It also featured a Babe Ruth professional model baseball bat with 8 home run notches on it that he used. Mm-hmm. 8 home run notches. That sold for $1.05 million. So by my math, that's about $400,000 less than the Joe Jackson picture. A 1925 Lou Gehrig autographed rookie exhibit postcard that went for $687,500, and a 1952 Joe DiMaggio autographed handwritten letter. This I would think would go for as much as any of them.
Who did he write it to?
Marilyn Monroe.
That's what I was guessing. This better be a high number.
$525,000.
What?
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. Of all of those, that might be if I had all that money, I'm going to buy something today. That might be the thing that I pick just because you got Marilyn and Joe in there.
Joe DiMaggio personal handwritten letter to Marilyn Monroe?
$525. So that's, I don't know, do the math, Darren. That's 1.47 months.
Yeah, it's about $1 million less.
1, 2, yeah.
I would much prefer that over a signed shoeless Joe picture. Definitely. Absolutely.
I think I agree with you. I'm serious. I mean the either that. Okay, I like the Lou Gehrig car or a postcard. I'd have to see what that looked like. I don't understand that totally, but it'd be for me. It'd be between that and the Babe Ruth bat that he actually used and hit 8 home runs with.
Yeah, that's cool too because that comes with stories, not just look at my picture. That's cool. He signed it. Dude. Look. Those grainy videos and pictures that you've seen the big fat dude hitting home runs. Right. Maybe this bat was one of them.
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
I think what we've decided here is we have no idea how to price sports memorabilia, and we probably shouldn't be out there throwing our money around at it either, because we have no idea what things are actually worth.
I'm pretty sure my wife would not be thrilled if I spent $500,000 on a letter. Although it would be neat.
There's Marilyn Monroe on it.
I know. Well, if you think about like this day and age that we live in, of everybody's all caught up in celebrity relationships and who's the new hot couple and this, that, and the other. I mean, honestly, guys, was there anybody really ever hotter than Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe? I mean, come on, man. Like she was the chick and he was the dude. I mean, that was long before anything that we know is today's world, social media and all this TV and all this junk that we have to pollute our minds. Like, they were everybody's idols. Jolt and Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe. Like, yeah, I agree with you. By the way, quick note too on the Shoeless Joe photo. It is a really cool photo. I'll say that. It's really cool. But it actually sold back in 2015 for the first time with Heritage Auctions. Not that that means anything to anybody. So this is 6 years ago, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it sold 6 years ago for $179,000, $250. So that's a 720% increase in 6 years, and I don't know the reasoning behind that.
Well, I mean, the sports card industry at the moment is booming, so maybe that's part of it. It's getting dragged, the memorabilia getting dragged along with it. Maybe.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the photo is from 1911, so it's 110 years old. It's pretty remarkable.
It's cool. I'm not dropping $1 million on it, but it's cool.
Yeah, Marilyn Monroe was a beautiful blonde girl, just like the chick that apparently Ed Orgeron's dating. Anybody what happened down there at the call-in show on Wednesday night? Did you see that?
No, I did not. I heard something happened, but I didn't know anything about it.
All right, so I think that the media and the social media overreaction to Ed Orgeron's response is quite possibly the dumbest thing I've seen this week. Like, the guy calls in. He says that his sister is in the crowd watching the call-in show. Hey, coach, it's her birthday. He goes, all right, that's great. What's her name? I'll give her a shout out and say happy birthday. He said, well, she's a little blonde-headed girl out there, so don't try to have sex with her.
What?
That was the call-in. And he goes, come on, man. And then they tried to turn the page, and he said, we have fishing holes around here for people like you. Basically, I'll tie your leg to a cinder block and throw you overboard, essentially is what he was trying to tell him. And everybody's jumping on. Did Ed Orgeron just threaten to kill somebody? Oh, get over that crap. That little twerp deserved that. Like, I would have said the exact same thing, and I would hope anybody else would say the same thing. Like, you're going to, you know what? If you got something to say like that, walk your rear end down to that restaurant and say it to his face, but you're not going to do it because you're scared.
Agree. Absolutely. So, you can't call into a show like that and just throw barbs out of nowhere. I mean, that's not fair.
Get that out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. It reminded me of the guy last year that called in a Muschamp's show that asked him if he was going to pay all the money back that he'd been stealing from Ray Tanner.
That was at least funny. The way that whole call played out was that guy did a great job.
Oh, he lured him right in. I mean, Muschamp, credit Will Muschamp, he didn't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
He was just quiet about it. But while it was funny because I laughed. While it was funny, that's what you're talking about right there. The guy told Muschamp to wear a ski mask on the sidelines, I think is what it was. I still have no room in my life for people like that. Like, okay, that's cute. But that Orgeron, that's inexcusable. And you know what? Good for Coach O. I hope that fired him up, and maybe LSU goes up to the Commonwealth this weekend and beats the crap out of Kentucky. I mean, I really do hope that fired him up. I don't like him or not like him or anything like that, but I don't have time for little twerps like that, man. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah. There's no play. Why the people, this falls into the same category. Remember JC like a week or two ago was all fired up because of some review.
Yeah.
The people that go post reviews are in the same category as people who call into call-in shows where the guy screening the calls doesn't have the time to screen them. If he is screening them, it's really easy to lie your way past that and then get on the air. if you're going to go on the air and waste your time and everybody else's time just to throw something like that around, you belong in the exact same category as the people who go write reviews because they have nothing better to do than complain about one poor day at your restaurant.
Yeah, I know. I absolutely agree. If I didn't like it, generally I don't write a review. If it was really good and they asked me to write a review, I'll absolutely do it for them and be honest about it.
Yes.
So I've
never written a bad review.
I haven't either.
No,
I haven't either. I mean, I can remember. I'm pretty sure I haven't. I'm not a review guy. So
no,
I am a Motley Rice guy. We all are. We're all Motley Rice guys and gals because they care about the state of South Carolina, and they always have and they always will. That's why they say we've never forgotten our local roots. It's why they're headquartered here, but they're a global company. It's amazing what they do for all of America. If you've been affected by medical drugs and devices or Takata airbags, if you've been injured on a plane, if you've been injured on a bus, MotleyRice.com, just go check it out. Let them fill you in on what they can do to help you. It's pretty simple. Everybody thinks, oh my God, they're so expensive. No, just call them. Trust me. That's why they have these lawsuits that are worldwide, basically. If they can help you, they will help you. MotleyRice.com. Joe, if you're watching and listening, we love you, man. You are the man. We really appreciate everything that you do for us and for all of our community. Going to get to some picks in a minute, but also, Darren, want to get to the Randy Arozarena steal home last night in the Tampa-Boston game, because I was watching that, and John Smoltz hit the nail on the head as soon as he took off. He said he was timing it the whole time, and Boston never did anything about it. And because Boston had a big lefty on the mound, they were playing a shift, so they had Devers way out there shifted towards the shortstop. And the general rule of thumb, especially when you're in the big leagues, and they pay you to know what the rule of thumb is you can get as much as he gives you. So if that guy is 30, 40 feet off the bag, you've got 30 or 40 feet. That guy's not going to step off the mound and run over and tag you out. It's not going to happen. Now, you don't want to get caught in no man's land where they can, drift somebody in back behind you and pick you off. Of course, if they throw behind you, you just go home anyways. So you count in your head. That's how you do it. Counting in your head. You do it one of two ways. You either count from when he begins to come set and how much time that's going to take, knowing that if you're, say, a 3.5 guy down the line from base to base and you've already got 40 feet, now you're about a 2-second guy. So if you're counting in your head from when he comes set, which is what he did last night, knowing that not only is he going to have to come set, he's going to have to not balk and step off the rubber, make a throw home, they're going to have to tag you. That's one. Or the other is you time from whenever they begin their motion home, and you just hope that you're on the same page as the guy at the plate, and he's not going to swing the bat while you're trying to cross home plate. You take the eyeballs out of your head. So he went with the safer option, Arozarena did, by timing him coming set for a couple of different pitches there. And luckily, nothing had been put in play or anything, so he was able to get it down. And as soon as he went to go, come set, he went.
Yep. And
as soon as he took off, Darren, I was sitting there with my wife. I said, safe. This won't even be remotely close, because that guy doesn't have 2 seconds to get it home. He had 3.5, and he was already in there. That was an awesome, smart play, and shame on the Red Sox. Sometimes you got to give the shift up, man. Sometimes you got to throw the analytics in the trash, and you got to play the game, and they didn't play the game. They got beat.
Yeah, this shouldn't surprise you. I mean, the last time a bag at home was stolen in the postseason, it was Jackie Robinson. Also, what probably won't surprise you, first time ever somebody has stolen home and hit a home run in the same postseason game. Arozarena became a star last postseason, and the question was, is it sustainable? Is this guy going to be able to keep doing what he's done on the biggest stage? And sure enough, he gets to the biggest stage again and becomes the storyline again.
Yeah. Amazing. This guy's he's one of those typical Tampa guys. When his contract is up, they're not going to be able to afford to keep him. He's probably going to end up in New York or in Boston or out west at LA or something like that, but he will not be in Tampa.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to afford him, Darren. He's too good of a player. And not enough people know about him because he's in Tampa. Credit to the crowd last night. They did show up, and Tampa's got that series lead. And we're going to talk much more about these coming up here in just a little bit with Rafael Esparza. But first, in our final few minutes before we head to a break, we've got some picks to make as we head into the weekend. JC and Michael will help us pick a few of these games later on, so Darren and I will throw a couple of them up on the board now. As far as I remember, you've got me by 4. You're 69-38. I'm 65-42 on the season.
I should have been 18-6 last week, but I only was 17-7. And again, we're doing straight up here, so it's not like it's as hard. But I talked up Michigan all week long. I took Michigan in the dog and duck pick'em sheet, both of them. But I didn't on this show, so I lost that one. So I only went 17-7.
Told you. I got to get back on it. I've had a rough couple weeks. Stanford and Arizona State's at 10:30 tonight. All of a sudden, people are paying attention because Arizona State's still in the top 25 at 22. They are 13-point favorites at home. Stanford upset Oregon last week. Can they go to the desert and pull another one?
No, they can't. Oregon did that to themselves, some strange play calling. There was no Joe Moorhead, their offensive coordinator, who was not at the game. Obviously, the end of the game, the play calling when he was wide open to get it out to the edge and run that ball in. Oregon helped themselves lose that game. Arizona State somehow still hanging around despite all that offseason nonsense there. So Arizona State wins the game.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to me after everything that's happened down there. Herm Edwards is still coaching, and they're still plugging right along. Yeah. Michigan State and Rutgers are at noon tomorrow on the Big Ten Network. Everybody's going, yeah, who cares? Ooh, hold on. Michigan State at Rutgers is a 5.5-point favorite. Mm-hmm. They're 5-0. Rutgers is 3-2, 0-2 in the Big Ten. Their 2 losses have been back-to-back. Michigan and Ohio State, I guess we could probably give them some credit for those 2. Now they've got Michigan State. This is like the perfect bounce back if you want to get back on it and you're building your program back for Rutgers. They're going to throw every egg they've got in the basket into this ball game, Darren, but will it be enough to beat the Spartans?
No. They played a decent second half against Michigan. They got railroaded by Ohio State. This is no. I'm surprised the line's as low as it is. They're going to have trouble containing that rushing game. Michigan State will continue what they've been doing. The Tucker train going to keep on rolling.
I'm with you. I agree. I like Michigan State, and I think they'll ultimately cover that 5.5 by probably win by at least a touchdown over there at Rutgers. West Virginia and Baylor. West Virginia's 2-3, 0-2 to start the Big 12 season. Baylor, to the surprise of many, is 4-1. They had a nice start, and they're 2-1 in the league. West Virginia comes in also reeling. They've lost a couple of games after opening the year at 2-1. Both of them, though, 3-point losses on the road at Oklahoma, 16-13, and then a 23-20 loss against Texas Tech. So defensively, the Mountaineers have been playing pretty good football, but they haven't been able to get that offense going. And I think they're going to give Baylor a tough time as well this week. Another team that traditionally offensive. Baylor, though, is pretty good defensive, and that's the problem for West Virginia. I don't know that the Mountaineers are going to have enough in the tank offensively. The over-under in this Big 12 game, it would have been 88 3 years ago. It's 44. Baylor wins.
I'm with you. I think Baylor wins. I think it's the first time I've picked Baylor this year also, and I've been on the West Virginia train a couple of different times, but I'll take Baylor in this one.
I love this game at 3:30 on ABC tomorrow. Boise State and BYU. Boise State, tough start, 2-3. We kind of know what they've been through. Baylor. BYU, great start, 5-0. 5-0. They're 6-point favorites at Lavelle Edwards Stadium out in Provo. And listen up, boys and girls. After this, they have to go to Baylor, go to Washington State, Virginia, Idaho State, Georgia Southern, and Southern Cal. Wrap it up for BYU. They're better than all of those teams. They might try to crash this whole playoff thing a little bit later on in the season. We'll see. We'll also see them beat Boise State tomorrow.
I agree, and I think you brought up a very interesting point. The whole Cincinnati win over Notre Dame had a lot of people saying, Cincinnati wins out, they're totally in. Watch out for BYU. If BYU wins out, their schedule, their resume will significantly top that of Cincinnati's, and both of them can't get in.
I totally agree. I love this game. It's back to picking the pokes. I got to go with my in-laws, 7 o'clock on the CBS Sports Network. Everybody around here is going, what's your tie? They've asked me 1,000 times. To Wyoming. I'm not from Wyoming. I love it out there. It's beautiful. But my in-laws live out there. My father-in-law and his wife, and my brother-in-law and his wife and their daughter, big Pokes fans. Took a tour of the whole facility a couple of years ago. when a listener here in the Low Country, his brother used to be a coach out there, and he set us up. Beautiful place. So I've adopted the Pokes. They are 4-0. They're at Air Force this weekend. Air Force on the season is 4-1. This is a hell of a matchup, and it's the most difficult matchup thus far on Wyoming's schedule. Again, none of you care about this, but I put it on here because it's Darren and my show, and we can do whatever the hell we want to. And because of that, upset on the road, Wyoming wins.
I've been to Colorado Springs. I've done a basketball game at Air Force. It is beautiful out there. Beautiful. A, I'm taking Air Force. B, I went and got new shoes at Dick's Sporting Goods the other day. The dude who helps me, big old dude, rocking out in Wyoming stuff. Shirt, his mask is a Wyoming mask. Played football recently for Wyoming, but he didn't know your name. And I'm taking Air Force.
I don't blame him. Good stuff there. Michigan is at Nebraska at 7:30 on ABC. Oh, they're going to blow them out, right? Well, wait a second here. The Huskers are only 3-point favorites? What?
Underdogs.
What?
Michigan,
Yeah, underdogs.
Yeah.
1-2 in the Big Ten, 3-3 overall. Michigan, as we know, another undefeated Big Ten team. Nebraska beat the podunk out of Northwestern last week, 56-7. Guys, Nebraska ain't as bad as people think that they are. They're not. They're 3-3. They did lose to Illinois to open the season. That was strange. 7-point loss at Oklahoma, 3-point loss at Michigan State. This is a real potential upset. Tomorrow night in Lincoln, and I'm picking it. I think Nebraska gets Michigan.
That would shock me. It would thrill me, but I'm going the other way. I think Michigan wins the game. You're right. Nebraska's better than a lot of us gave them credit for. I was one of many to put them in the doghouse for good after losing to Illinois to open the year. But they didn't stay there. They are a much more competitive team. The line is what it is because they're hanging around. This has that year for Michigan. There's this feel around Michigan. It's very similar to the other teams in the East right now. And you could throw Iowa in, even though they're very different type of teams. It just feels right for Michigan. Feels like it's moving the right direction. This would derail them to a point that they don't want to go down that slippery slope. They're going to win this game. I think they cover the spread, but I don't think it's a blowout.
Yeah, it won't be a blowout. I'm with you. I like the way the Martinez kid's playing at quarterback. He's 100 for 150 on the season. That's a 67% completion rate. I think he's going to give Michigan problems tonight. You're right. It feels a little bit different for the Wolverines. Guys, don't take your eyes off this game tomorrow night. I'm telling you, it's going to be worth watching, certainly. All right, got to hit a timeout, 12:33 on a Friday afternoon. Rafael Esparza is waiting patiently in Vegas, and we'll pull him up. We've got boxing, baseball, and football to get to right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right. We take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity finance to new loan, subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work. And two others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor, Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
The JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online.
I'm gonna keep on the run. I'm gonna have me some fun. It cost me my very last dime.
12:36 Friday afternoon, October the 8th. Welcome back, the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, and very proudly presented by Motley Rice. We head not to New Orleans, to Vegas. That's where we find Rafael Esparza. What's up, man?
What's going on? How are you guys doing?
It's Friday. We have you. We're wonderful.
That is good. I am actually sitting in my room at MGM Grand making Super Bowl halftime prop bets and waiting for a fun festivity of who's going to make someone mad worse, Tyson Fury or Wilder or Bob Arum. Someone's going to stick their foot in their mouth sometime today.
So I got to be honest, I'm a little upset because it used to be super easy to steal a lot of these fights, and they've made it much harder. So I have a debate on my hands as to whether or not I fork up the cash.
How much is it?
It's probably like $70 or $80 if I had to guess. If I fork up the cash or just go with college football and see what happens.
Well, I think most of the really good games will be over before
that's true.
This one goes into the ring. Yeah, I mean, your time is probably not going to start until midnight.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm definitely you have to make sure you take a nap, because I know you East Coast people like to go to bed super early after your SEC games are done and over so quickly. But there's some really good fights on this. Frank Sanchez, up and comer heavyweight, is on the card. He's the co-main event. There's three heavyweight fights that's right before the main event. So you'll be seeing some heavy punches landing this one. And then there's, like I said, the undercard is really good. I know a lot of these people don't care less about fights and undercard, but there's some really good. Julian Williams is on the card, junior middleweight, that could be high up there. So I can't wait to watch some of these, like I said, undercards. Orlando Gonzalez, featherweight, up and coming, 10 rounders. So there's some really good fights. So I know people just want to buy just for the main Wilder Fury, which is going to go good. I think it goes in the middle rounds. I don't think it's going to be a quick fight.
Oh, you don't? So here's the question everybody wants to know: is Deontay Wilder is he related to Van?
No, he's not related to Van. I think if they are, maybe adopted, but he's not related to Van. But this one should be interesting. If you saw the first fight, Deontay Wilder knocked down Tyson Fury. Fury got up and pretty much won the whole fight. I thought he got, pardon my French, screwed in the first fight. I thought he won it. It shouldn't have been a draw, and then we all know what happened in the second fight. So could the third fight be the same?
Yeah, I don't know. All right, so let me put that in my notes. Deontay Wilder is not related to Van Wilder. Cool. Darren, do you know who Van Wilder is?
I think he's an actor.
No, it was a movie. It was Ryan, whatever his name is.
So that actor doesn't count?
Well, yeah, but
at some points.
Yeah, but Van. Well, no. I mean, like, is Maverick an actor or is he a character?
He's a character, but
exactly as Van Wilder.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know movies.
All right. So who wins this thing? You going with Van Wilder, Deontay Wilder?
I have Fury winning this fight going into the championship rounds.
Okay.
I like the over 7.5 round prop. I just don't think it's going to be Wilder connecting him early, and Fury goes 9-9. The longer this fight goes, the better for Tyson Fury, because Fury's going to do exactly what he did in the second fight: lean on him, make Deontay Wilder carry him, and in the middle of the rounds, championship rounds, Deontay Wilder's gassed out, and that's when Fury knocks either TKO or the distance. But I like Fury, but if I had to put the best bet on the board, give me the over 7.5 rounds.
Okay, over 7.5. Fury by knockout or DQ or going the distance TKO. Is at 110 on the money line. It looks like minus 110. There you go. 12:41 Friday afternoon. Vegas. There's 11 fights, I think, on that ticket tomorrow night as well. Total, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you're getting your money's worth while you're watching baseball and college football.
Yep, and that's where we're going next. Is into baseball. The postseason has arrived, Raphael. And look, that last night wasn't as good. If you are interested in being entertained as the first two ball games were, but certainly today with 4 games on the slate, I think it's going to pick up a little bit here tonight. Just out of curiosity, what division series are you the most interested in?
Oh, not to say just because I'm East Coast biased, since you guys are West Coast biased, but give me the Dodgers and Giants. Yeah. I can't wait to watch that. We're going to be the biggest Dodger fans. I think every sports book in the United States, or maybe in the world, will be the biggest Dodger fans, because everyone's probably going to lose some type of money if the Giants win the World Series, because some books open them up 100-1.
That's right.
Win the World Series. So there's some big tickets out there. I think our highest we had them was 80 or 85-1. I have to go back there, but we're heavy on Giants money. So that's one I'm intrigued. And then my second one in Darren's backyard, Atlanta, Milwaukee, just because the Brewers are in my division. So I kind of want to see that one. As long as Boston doesn't win it, I hate to root for the cheaters, Astros. I can't see another Chicago team win it, so I'm rooting for the Astros.
Well, I'm glad you brought up that San Fran situation. I mentioned that at the top of our program today, that a lot of books out there would be, quote, crushed by San Fran winning it because of those 100-1 odds before the season started. And even right around the All-Star break, Raphael, the odds had still only fallen to like 40-1. So there's a lot of people that took them at 40-1, and now they're going, well, now wait a second here. We might lose our rear ends on this. To throw a couple more nuggets into this conversation before we actually get into some of the betting stuff, here are some things that I guess I'm just not very good at what I do, because I didn't realize all of this had happened this year with San Francisco. The Giants, I knew they led the National League with 241 home runs, but here's how that breakdown is. There wasn't one player on the roster that hit 30, not one, and you never see that. And also, there were 17 players, which is a Major League Baseball record, who hit at least 5. And they also had 18 of those 241 bombs this year leave the yard via the pinch hit. That is also a Major League Baseball record. So it was the fact that nobody saw this coming, I think, by stats like that backs it up to me, because there weren't a bunch of superstars that everybody was going to center this thing around. They just all kept playing well. Yeah,
and then you'd have to throw in a mix that you add Chris Bryant, that wasn't in there the whole time in the lineup, if they traded for him. Buster Posey really didn't play that much into that. And Tommy La Stella was injured a lot in the beginning. He can always put the long ball out there. So there was 3 key factors. He could probably add more home runs, but they had some injuries throughout the season.
I think the biggest question in the series is, do those guys, who most people can't really even go name a majority of the Giants, does that success in the regular season translate into the biggest stage against the game's biggest stars and one of the highest payrolls in a 5-game series? That's the question.
I agree. I mean, that's the question, and we saw that question yesterday of the Astros White Sox. I mean, the White Sox crushed that horrible division that they had to play Kansas City, Detroit, and the Twins all season long, and then the limelight goes on the road in Houston. They get blanketed. Same thing. Now we have these young guys that maybe have not seen the playoffs go against the billionaires of the LA Dodgers, who have just guys all over the place that have either rings or have that experience. I think bringing in Chris Bryant is going to be helpful. He's been there, won a World Series. I mean, the White Sox have a lot of experience in there. Even Longoria has experience. So I think that's going to help. But let's face it, it's all going to be down to pitching. With Kershaw being out, I think that kind of hurts the Dodgers a little. And tonight's matchup should be interesting with Webb, the young guy. How's he going to pitch in the limelight?
I agree. I totally agree. By the way, 5-1 now via mybookie.ag for the Giants to win the World Series. MyBookie is where you can go make money. That's what he is here to tell you how to do. Braves 1.5 run dogs tonight against the Brewers as they open up their division series for our local Braves fans around here. What do you think?
Tonight I like the Brewers just because Burns has done them out. But for the series, it would not shock me if this one goes the distance. And I'll take a little plus 125 or plus 130 on the Braves to win the series over the Brewers. Because here's another one. The Brewers get to beat up in a horrible division. They had to play the Cubs, the Pirates, and let's face it, a lot of those bottom teams in the NL. Brewers ate up. So how are they going to go against a team like Atlanta who had to go with the Phillies, the Mets? Even Miami, who started off pretty good, faced them. I think the Braves, Game 5, I'm going to take my money on the Braves. But tonight, I'll give the edge to Burns. He's been lights out.
12:46 Friday afternoon. Follow Raphael on Twitter, please, at VSI Doc Sports. There's no K in that. At VSI Doc Sports. You can head to our Twitter page and find him there as well. And go to mybookie.ag, sign up. They're going to give you additional cash to go make some money. I hope that you do make some money. He's going to tell you how to do that. On the football side of things now, starting in the NFL, the Saints and the former Washington Redskins will kick at 1 on CBS from Landover. The Saints are 2-point favorites in this game here, Raphael. How do you see this sucker playing out?
Interesting in this one. Let's face it, we all saw what happened last week with them. It could be a very, very long football season for that state. I'm going to have to say I'm going to have to fade them. I'm just not sold on that state of football right now.
I agree. Darren and I will make a pick on this one here. I've got Washington winning this game, not just covering the 2. I've got them winning outright.
Well, they're dogs anyway, isn't it? I mean, New Orleans is favored, right?
Yeah.
So I like the fact that Washington can carry a little momentum in there. You know, you got Mr. Bud Lightikin because Heineken won't jump on board, and I might never. I like Heineken. I might never drink it again because of this botched promotion, not getting on board with Taylor Heineke here. But yeah, let's see if they can take a little momentum in.
All right. So you're going with Washington.
I'm going with Washington.
Yeah, I'm shocker.
Yeah, I know.
All right, Panthers, Eagles, 1 o'clock, Fox. Panthers, of course, big news of the week. They signed Stephon Gilmore. Stephon Gilmore will not be playing in this game. Panthers are 3-point favorites against Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, who are just 1-3.
I like the Panthers. I mean, McCaffrey might play. I don't think if he does play, he's going to be that big of a factor. I'm sure they're not going to use him for every down. Right. But I just think Carolina's defense is going to bounce back after what happened last week in Dallas. I like Carolina at home.
Yes, Panthers win, no doubt. If they do play McCaffrey, it'll be sparingly. They're probably going to try to hold on to him for at least another week or so. Darren, Panthers?
I'm on the Panthers side as well, yes.
Tennessee and Jacksonville, the major bet here is this Urban Meyer's last game as a head coach in the NFL. They are 4.5-point dogs against the Titans at home at 1 o'clock on CBS as well on Sunday afternoon. Raphael, your thoughts?
Hey, I don't know how he still has a job. It just blows my mind that he does. You guys all saw the prop bet that I put out earlier in the week. So I don't want him to get fired because everyone bet Urban Meyer minus 175 for the next Florida football head coach to be fired. I think it's going to be Jeff Scott. But yeah, I mean, Urban Meyer and Tim Tebow are both taking a knee right now and praying to the football gods that the Jacksonville Jaguars can win this game so he maybe can save his job. I don't see it happening. Give me Tennessee.
I'm with you. I think Tennessee goes down there and wins. They got problems. They'll win. They're 0-5. Here come the Jaguars and the start of the Trevor Lawrence tenure at 0-5.
Yeah, you can't exactly pick the Jags right here until you see them actually function as, well, a functioning team.
Yeah. Speaking of functioning teams, the Chiefs aren't off to the hottest of starts. They're just 2-2. They'll host Buffalo at 8:20 on NBC. Sunday Night Football from Arrowhead. KC, though, 2.5-point favorites in the game. Raphael, your thoughts?
This game reminds me so much of the game I watched last night where Seattle, they win games at home, but sometimes they just don't cover. And that's the same thing as we see the Chiefs. Last 15 games we've seen Kansas City play, they've covered 3 of those. Give me the best team that I think in the AFC right now. Granted, they had that hiccup against Pittsburgh at home in week 1, but I think a lot of those teams in week 1 chose that game to play week 4 of preseason. Give me Buffalo. I like Buffalo in this one. I'm not 100% sold on Kansas City.
I think Kansas City gets them, although I really hope Buffalo wins because Josh Allen is a quarterback, but I think KC wins at home.
I'm with Raphael. I've got Buffalo.
Okie doke. On Twitter at VSI.Sports, Raphael Esparza, mybookie.ag. All right, on to college football we go, Raphael. We're going to ask you about other games besides the SEC. Just hold on. Don't get mad at me right off the rip here.
I'm hanging up.
CBS has A&M and Bama.
Still waiting for me.
CBS has A&M and Bama at 8 o'clock. Bama's an 18-point favorite. Do they cover that on Kyle Field?
Why not? I wanted to play the over in this game, but I just don't think Alabama's going to give up that many points.
Yeah.
But I think they cover in this one. I think their defense is starting to play a little bit better at times, especially in the second half. I think they make really good adjustments in the second half. So I don't know what they talked about at halftime, but yeah, I think Bama rules.
Well, Darren and I will make a pick on this one here as well. Bama's going to win the game, Darren. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I've got you down for Bama, but the question is, do they cover the 18? A&M have the Gamecock Clemson problem here. They can't score. And when you play Alabama, you kind of need to be able to do that a little bit. If I was going to put money on this game, I'd take Bama to cover that 18.
Yeah, so. I have no issues with that.
Okay. All right, good. LSU, you mentioned it's tough sledding down there in the great state of Louisiana right now. LSU, they're at Kentucky. They're 3-point dogs against a top 25 Wildcats team, 16th. And they are perfect, 5-0, 3-0. In the SEC, can Max Johnson and Ed Orgeron lead LSU to the Commonwealth and get things back on track?
I did know that I did figure out that Ed O is a big fan of you guys, so I know he's probably listening to the show right now. And if you are, Caesars is hiring for ticket riders for the sports book that they're building around the state of Louisiana. So when you do lose your job after Kentucky beats you, or sometime at the season, you can find a ticket writer job at Caesars. But Kentucky wins and they cover. Kentucky goes 6-0.
Oh, wow. All right. Notre Dame and Virginia Tech, 7:30 Saturday night. This, by mybookie.ag, is PK. Pick 'em.
Wow, that's how moved down that much?
That's how close people think this sucker's going to be. Yes, it has. It is dead even from Lane Stadium, where they will be running out, as they always do, to Metallica in hopes of a upset of 14th ranked Notre Dame, 7:30 on the ACC network. Can Jack Cohn get the Irish in there and get them out of there with a victory, Raphael?
Touchdown Jesus versus walking out to Metallica. This is a hard one. This is going to be very interesting on this one. I think Virginia Tech wins this one. It seems like lately when they're up against big games and people are coming in their backyard, they play well, especially their defense. Special teams is going to be the big key in this one. Virginia Tech squeezes out a victory.
All right. Who's on upset alert? Is it Michigan? They are 3-point favorites at Nebraska. Nebraska, look, everybody wanted to throw Scott Frost, no relation to Jack, into the dumpster before the season started. He can't do it. He's this, he's that, the other. Yeah, I get it. They're 3-3. They're 1-2 in the Big Ten. Let's look at those 3 losses real quick, Raphael. Okay, that first one, terrible against Illinois. The others, though, Oklahoma and Michigan State by a combined 10 points, both of those on the road. I already told Darren I think that they upset Michigan tomorrow night. I think Lincoln is going to be rocking. This is the moment that they've been waiting for under Scott Frost. Do they capitalize, in your opinion? And right now the line is 3 points in favor of the Wolverines.
No, because I just looked at my phone, and my phone still says 2021, not 1990. Give me Michigan. I think Michigan stays perfect. They're going to play the exact same type of game they played against Wisconsin, and they're ruckus of home road team as a road team. and they easily won that game. Sorry, Nebraska. Ooh, you beat up Northwestern. Oklahoma's not the same Oklahoma team. They're going to lose against Texas this week, and I'm still not sold on Michigan State. So I'm sorry, Nebraska. You still have Corn, but you don't have Michigan.
They also have Corn in Iowa, where they'll host Penn State tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Darren has already started drinking for this game. It's on Fox from Kinnick. The Kinnick Wave is so special. Iowa is a 1.5-point favorite. Somebody, unfortunately, is going to have to lose. I love watching both of these play good old classic Big Ten football, Raphael. The over-under in the game is at 41. Remarkable. Could be one of those old slobber knockers. Who pulls it out?
I don't know. Someone's O has to go, and I wish it could be a tie like we see in the NFL. But Darren would be all over my back and give me a high five after this rant. Why do we game day at Texas and Oklahoma when neither of those teams have won anything since maybe I had a mullet? Iowa and Penn State should be where game day is. That's what my rant is. I don't care who wins this game. I think whoever wins this game probably wins the Big Ten and could be in the Final Four. I lean towards Iowa because I'm still impressed on how they beat Iowa State going into their backyard. But that Penn State defense is no joke. Someone has to go. I can't wait to watch this one. I'm so glad it's at 4 and not during the fight because I'll be watching this game every snap. I'm going to say Iowa, but would not shock me if that Penn State defense is the reason why they win on a turnover and maybe a defensive touchdown.
You just alluded to something, so we're going to throw this up for the first time, our buy and sell presented by Jeff McCarriger, because one of the questions, buy or sell, the loser of Penn State, Iowa, still in playoff contention.
Yes.
No.
Oh, I don't agree with that. I think they absolutely are. The Big Ten's going to keep beating. The Big Ten's going to keep beating people up. They're beating themselves up. I think they're still in it with one loss. Raphael, come on.
Cincinnati's going to steal a spot. I mean, everyone's going to be whining and grinding about Coastal Carolina.
No.
I think they're going to be penalized just because of some other teams that might be staying perfect. There's no way I think Big Ten will get 2 teams in.
I don't care what people say about Coastal Carolina.
You don't need 2 teams in. They could play again. Iowa's in the West. The rest of the Big Ten strength is in the East.
If that's the case, if they play again, that's a totally different story.
Yep, okay. The loser can still go win the Big Ten championship.
Bad news, Coastal fans. I don't care if you go undefeated. You're not going to sniff it. It's not happening. You mentioned Oklahoma and Texas. Noon. Oklahoma's a 3-point favorite. Hey, who wins?
I could care less who wins this game just because then that game day is there, but I'm hoping Texas wins. And I can laugh at all the Oklahoma fans who thought they were going to have another Heisman Trophy and go to the Final Four. But so horns up, I think Texas wins. But again, game day should be Penn State, Iowa.
At noon, does Ole Miss cover 5.5 against Arkansas? Arkansas is everybody's little baby girl to start the year now. They're getting into the meat of it. Who wins?
Yeah, I think both teams pick up their big boy pants and play football again after the butt whoopings both of them took. Ole Miss is at home. I think they have the better offense. If this is an offensive shootout, I just don't think Arkansas has the weapons as Ole Miss does. And I'm not sold on Arkansas's quarterback being 100%. I'll take Ole Miss. This one will probably move up to 6 or 7 by kickoff.
Oh, okay. All right. 2 more. Georgia, Auburn. We're going to pick this one later as well. This one's, I think it's... No, it's right where it was. 15.5. The Dogs are 15.5-point favorites at Auburn. The interesting thing about that, the over-under is 47 because Georgia's defense is ridiculous. Does Georgia cover 15.5?
I think they do. I mean, if you're an SEC fan and all that, you need Georgia's defense to just keep on rolling teams, and you can maybe grab 2 with you and Alabama. But let's say if Auburn does a hiccup right here and upsets them, boy, does that put a big spin into your almighty SEC conference. But Georgia's defense is just too good. If it wasn't for Alabama playing so well last week, I might have bumped Georgia as my number 1 team and put Alabama 2.
Fair enough. Absolutely. And finally, South Carolina and Tennessee. We're about to get into the Big Gamecock Preview Show here in less than a minute, Raphael. 10.5-point favorites are the Vols over the Gamecocks, 56.5. Tennessee throttled Missouri last week. Gamecocks, it's been a struggle to score throughout the year.
I'm in a good mood. I'm driving around on paved roads. It's nice outside. So I'm going to keep my happy mood and say South Carolina covers.
Whoa.
This game, Tennessee wins, but it's going to be a very, very close game. So I'm going to take that Gamecocks plus the points. But Tennessee wins on a late field goal. I think they win by 4.
Ooh, historically, this game is very close. We'll get into all of that coming up in just a couple of minutes. Have a wonderful weekend in a place you know quite well, Las Vegas. The fight tomorrow night is going to be brilliant. It's a wonderful weekend for sports with football and baseball in addition to everything else. Thank you so much, as always, for your time, my friend. We really appreciate it, and we'll do it again next week.
Take it easy, guys. Have a fantastic weekend.
Later,
yes,
man.
sir. You too. There you go. Rafael Esparza and mybookie.ag. Go make some cash. Time out. When we return, Motley Rice presents the Big Gamecock Preview Show right here on JB and Goldwater. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and to others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
To Rice, touchdown! He caught it in traffic.
Big sack for the Gamecocks, J.J. Inigbari.
Walks it up, looking for Kelly. Touchdown! Can you believe it?
JB and Goldwater presents the Gamecock Preview Show, proudly brought to you by Motley Rice. Our history makes us bold, our boldness makes history. And now, it's time for some Gamecock football.
Shut up! Going for everything. Ellis looking for blood. Touchdown! Oh my!
This is Rodgers again to the 25, 20, 15, 10. Rodgers scores! Back to Thomas Bendy, and Bendy spins into the open, and he's on his way. It's a tie-ball game if they can get the extra point. 20, 15, 10, 5. Scoreboard, second of the day.
There's never been more excitement about South Carolina football than there is right now.
I've heard all the stories of the great George Rogers out back in 1980. He made the whole nation holler. And I've seen that photograph of young Steve Tannehill up in old Death Valley signing his name on the field. Yeah, and I love the year 2001 at the Williams Brass Rock. Oh, what else can I say? I'm just a big old car.
105 Friday afternoon, the Big Gamecock Preview Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, and served by Whiskey Jam, which obviously is in partnership with Patrick Davis and Firefly. Make Whiskey Jam your drink of choice tomorrow, as we hope the South Carolina Gamecocks head to Rocky Top and take down Tennessee. Carolina's 3-2, 0-2 to start the 2021 season in the Southeastern Conference. The Vols come in, though, at 3-2, 1-1 in the league. That one win last week, a big one, 62-24 over Missouri. But we'll get more into those numbers coming up here in just a little bit. As I mentioned, it'll kick at noon tomorrow at Neyland Stadium, where they seat over 100,000 fans. It's going to be loud. Tennessee's going to be in black jerseys and pants. Black jerseys should remind Gamecock fans of 2009. It was Halloween night. Lane Kiffin was the coach. And it was a loss for South Carolina, 29-7 in a rainy, cold evening up on Rocky Top. Anish Shroff will call it. Mike Golick Jr. will analyze it, and Taylor McGregor will roam the sidelines of Neyland on ESPN2, nationally televised. Todd, Tommy, and Jamar have it on the Gamecock IMG Sports Network. Of course, Shane Bieber is in his first year ever as a head coach, 3-2 to start. Josh Heupel's in his first year at Tennessee. It's his fourth overall. He's 31-10. That record has gradually gotten a little bit worse than it was when he started, though. 3-2, though, in his first year up there at Tennessee. The series is in favor of the Vols, 27-10-2. But this series, as we'll get to in just a little bit, has been much closer over the last 16 years. 10-7-2 in Columbia, 17-3 up on Rocky Top in Knoxville. Carolina last won there a few years ago in 2017. 31-27 the score last year in Columbia. It was a heartbreaker to start Will Muschamp's final campaign as head coach of the Gamecocks. Last time in Knoxville was the largest difference in this series in a long, long time, 41-21. Carolina led at halftime, and then they forgot that you had to play the second half of that ball game, where Tennessee went out and scored 24 points. So with all of that being said, we're set and ready to go. Tennessee 10.5-point favorites. JC Shurburtt got a haircut. He's feeling better, and he's joining us now on the Big Gamecock Preview Show. What's up, man?
Hey, guys. Yeah, interesting matchup tomorrow. I've already made my prediction, so I guess I'm going to stick to it. But I started running some numbers, right, guys? And there's some hope out there. You know, if the offense wasn't playing as bad as it is, I'd probably have more hope than a lot of people. But we all saw the big score Tennessee put up last week. Let me explain to you how bad the Missouri run defense is, okay? And I know it's bad, but I really dug into it like about 30 minutes ago before I came on. They gave up 174 to Central Michigan. That's a season low. Kentucky torched them for 332. Southeast Missouri averaged 8.2 yards per carry with 294. Boston College rushed for 275. And then Tennessee torched them with 458 on the ground. So Tennessee now, you know, they rushed for 331 against Bowling Green, 202 against Tennessee Tech. Other than that, 136 yards against Pittsburgh, 148 against Florida. Solid numbers, but not the pinball machine type numbers you saw in Como last weekend. So, you know, if you're South Carolina, I think it looks – because you can't score right now, right? And so you look and you see, wow, there's too much offense there. And I think when you're predicting the game, you probably should pick it that way. But just looking at it, I think that the numbers, for those that think Tennessee's going to hang half 100 tomorrow, most likely, and look, they could. This is the type of offense that games can get away from you. Mm-hmm. You know, that Missouri game, because of Missouri's historically bad run defense, obviously wasn't the norm for this Tennessee team this year. I think they're a good running team. Are they a team that could put up 300-plus on the ground consistently? I don't know. I don't know that I would say that. And then, you know, you look at Tennessee's defense. They've been really good against the run, but they're susceptible to the pass. Florida actually kind of turned that upside down and rushed for 283, but Emory Jones went for 144 as the quarterback runner down in the swamp. And that in that game. Other than that, Bowling Green 187, Pitt 301, Florida 222, Tennessee Tech 144, Missouri 322 yards. Tennessee in total defense is not up there. They're up there in run defense, but that's about it. So, and I'm going to throw some Carolina numbers out there for those of you that are down in the dumps. I'm not going to mention the offensive numbers, but South Carolina's got the number 26 total defense in the country. They're number 15 in turnover margin. They're number 2 nationally in block punts. They're number 7 in turnovers gained. They're number 2 in defensive touchdowns. They're number 3 in interceptions. These are your national stats now. Number 18 in fumbles recovered. And number 31 in kickoff returns. So the defense and special, plus Parker White hadn't missed a field goal, knock on wood. So the defense and special teams for South Carolina have been pretty solid. Those are other phases of the game that you can get an advantage in. The question just becomes, can South Carolina get enough offense to win? I'll tell you this too. Tennessee has started every game like gangbusters. They come out, they score 10, 14 points. They did it against Florida. They did it against Pitt. They did it against Missouri, obviously. And then the little guys, Bowling Green and Tennessee Tech. But in most games, around the second quarter, third quarter, that they kind of came back to earth a little bit.
Yeah.
And that shows me that teams kind of struggle with the tempo. So I think it's going to be important for South Carolina to possibly try all they can, although I would say it's unlikely because South Carolina is not a fast-starting team, to start out well or to at least weather the storm early. In other words, a good drive, a field goal, a touchdown, whatever you got to do, a turnover, a nice kickoff return, whatever you got to do to keep them from kind of throwing the first punch. I think that's important early in the game because, right now is a very confident Tennessee team. I'm sure they've seen the spread. I'm sure they think they're just going to go roll the Gamecocks. I know their fans think that. I know the media in Tennessee thinks that. But I would caution people that wear the orange and white to really dig into that Missouri defense. I mean, 8.2 yards a carry against Southeast Missouri. Shoe buddy. That's probably that's about as bad as it gets. And then just to kind of reinforce a point I've been trying to make, guess where their D coordinator came from? It's Steve Wilkes, who I think was the head coach of the Cardinals. Yeah. Came from the NFL, paid him a bunch of money. As we all see out there, their defense has gotten significantly worse. They can't stop college offenses. Yet again, let me remind everybody, it's 2 different games in the NFL and in college. So that's my kind of opener for this football game as far as what I think. I'll tell you, after digging into the numbers, I've got a little more confidence South Carolina can go up there and play with these guys.
Yeah, Josh Heupel, too, is a guy who, as a head coach, JC, if you go back and look at his career, obviously at Central Florida, most notably, won some big games with them down there, came back the next week, kind of fell flat on their faces. So there's still a question mark out there as to whether Josh Heupel is the guy who can keep you here, keep you consistent week in and week out. Vols fans certainly believe that they'll see that tomorrow. South Carolina, and we're going to talk about this with you in just a second, is hoping that, they do get off to a good start and they're able to maybe quiet some things down early in Neyland. A win over Tennessee, JC, and everybody, would snap an 8-game losing streak in the SEC. Wow.
That caught up on everybody, right? Because of the whole SEC schedule last year. And it's the longest SEC losing streak since 98, 99, guys.
Yeah.
When they lost, 18 in a row in the league. So it's time. And hopefully it comes, if not tomorrow, the next week certainly as a golden opportunity. But, this is one of those games we talked about all offseason, guys. You talk about Kentucky. That didn't work out. You talk about Tennessee. You talk about Missouri. These are the teams South Carolina has to turn the series on. And this Tennessee series has been interesting. Since 2010, it's gone in threes. Gamecocks won 3 in a row. Tennessee won 3 in a row. Gamecocks won 3 in a row. Now Tennessee's on 2 in a row. Sometimes those streaks, when they go 3-3-3, sometimes they'll stop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I know that nobody thinks that. And I know that my prediction doesn't say that. But, sometimes like that, how many times can it go 3-3-3? Now, that said, since the early 2000s, this series, usually the game comes down to a field goal or less than a touchdown.
Yep.
And so that's a trend that actually most years has held, no matter how bad South Carolina is, or how good Tennessee is. I remember 2015, Tennessee's a pretty good football team with Butch Jones. Carolina goes up there, gets down 17-0. Perry Orth launches a tremendous comeback.
Yep.
For Sean Elliott's group, and the Gamecocks are driving, and they could have gone in and scored and won the game, and Jarrell Adams fumbled going in. And then the next year, of course, South Carolina upset them in Muschamp's first year in Columbia. So, and that started their 3-game winning streak. So, some of these trends in this series, no matter who the coach or the players have been, have held. But obviously every year is different. New coaching staffs at both schools. Shane Beamer's 3-3 against Tennessee as an assistant.
Yep.
And I think Josh Heupel's 0-2 against South Carolina as an assistant. So he hadn't had very much luck against the Gamecocks, but that was during the Muschamp era. And of course, the Gamecocks hadn't played UCF, him as a head coach at all. So we'll see what happens this weekend. I think that after looking at the numbers and really digging in, stats don't always tell the whole story. South Carolina's got to move the football. There's no question. But once you kind of dig into it, that 62 last week, it kind of means a little something different when you look and you see just how bad Missouri's been as far as run defense goes. I mean, 8 yards a carry against Southeast Missouri State. Missouri won the game 59-28. But giving up that many yards on the ground against an FCS opponent, I don't care who you are. I don't care where you've coached. I don't care how bad your players are. If you're in the SEC, that's embarrassing. Missouri continued to get embarrassed last week by the Vols. So, I think South Carolina's defense is obviously much better than University of Missouri's. And so, therefore, ergo, if you will, I think the Gamecocks have a much better chance of slowing them down tomorrow. I think that first phase of the game is going to be very important, though, because, like I said, Tennessee started well every single game. The Gamecocks have not started well in any game except Eastern Illinois. And against Georgia, maybe on offense a little bit with the long passes and the field goal drives. But Carolina's got to go out there and kind of take the fight to them and make sure that, they're not letting the Vols go in and establish early momentum because then it becomes mental. And you're like, oh, my God, I can't stop them. I can't stop them. They're going fast. They're going fast. And Tennessee sitting there going, yeah, we're going fast. We're going fast, just like last week. You got to do something to disrupt that rhythm early on defense or whether that's on offense with a long drive or a big play, something to take the momentum away from the Vols, who will be fired up with those black jerseys on tomorrow in Knoxville.
Yeah, and to your point, 73-13 is the number. That's what Tennessee has done to opponents in the first quarter. Keep in mind, though, 28 of those came in last week's game against a pretty porous Missouri defense. You can look at that way. You can look at it the other way as well. Tennessee, maybe they're kind of getting going. Also on the line tomorrow, if they do win Carolina, it would be a 9-8 lead now against Tennessee in the last 17 contests. This series is still the closest series in the SEC, guys. Over the last 16 years, it's 8-8 back and forth. The average margin of victory one way or another is 5.22 points, and that's with that 20-point victory that happened in the second half 2 seasons ago in Knoxville. Without it, it's 3.37. So as JC said, it could be very close, and special teams will really matter. And if that's the case, Carolina's done pretty good on that side of the football, and Parker White in particular, 9 of 9 in field goal attempts this year, and all-time against Tennessee, 7 for 7, including a couple of huge ones back in 2017 and in 2018, helping Carolina to win those games. So, you mentioned, JC, getting out of the gates early and weathering the storm. If you could, like many people do out there and think that they know everything, pick up a PlayStation or a Xbox or whatever and play this game out, what is a perfect case scenario start for South Carolina? And what I'm asking here is literally from who wins the coin flip, what do you do with the football, and if you take it, how long does that drive last? what does it look like? What is a perfect start? Describe a perfect first quarter for South Carolina.
Well, I think South Carolina should put its defense on the field first. I think you run that offense out there, you run the risk of, I don't know, anything happening. A tip pass, an Tennessee's defense against the run especially is not that bad. I wouldn't say they're one of the best defenses in the SEC, but I also wouldn't say that they're god-awful. They're not Missouri level or even Vandy level. I think they're pretty good. So I put the defense out there, man, and I think the defense may get surprised a little by the tempo, but this group on defense is very, very resourceful. They get the ball off of you. Like I said, they're number 15 in turnover margin in the country. They're number 7 in turnovers gained, and it doesn't matter really who they've played. They've gotten the turnovers, and so I think I put the defense out there. I know what happened at Georgia. Georgia went right down the field, but, I think you put your defense out there. So the ideal thing is to go get a stop, all right? Get them off the field. Stop the run. Don't let them sit there and think, hey, you're just going to run it all over us like you did last week. And then go back. And, you need to sustain drives. I don't think it's realistic that South Carolina is going to go up there, guys, and all of a sudden be able to run block. And hopefully, hey, if that's the case, I'll change my prediction right now. If you can tell me South Carolina can go up there and, get 200 yards on the ground with their backs, I'll say they'll win the game, maybe by double digits. But I don't think it's realistic they're going to do that. I think this offense, as we move along, you have to kind of look at it more like, all right, what happened against Troy last week when they started fast and they were throwing it all over the yard? I think in a lot of ways, I've got kind of a theory that that's what this offense is designed to do because it's the Joe Brady offense, so to speak. Look at LSU. They're kind of running the same thing. They can't run the ball. I'm not blaming the scheme. I'm just saying that, this offense is designed to get yards through the air. I think Luke Doty's been good enough to do that. I think the receivers have been better than expected and good enough to do that. And so you just got to drive the ball down the field, get points. So an ideal start for me is instead of Tennessee sitting there up 10-0, 14-0, 14-3, 10-3, 10-7, South Carolina stopping them and scratching out some early points. I think that changes the complexion of the game.
What's the ceiling? Because there's a reality here that Tennessee is going to have a lead in this sucker early in the game. I think I don't want to say I'm assuming that, but it's fair. It's fair to understand that you might look up at the end of the first quarter and there be a deficit. What is as bad as this offense has been? So what? For South Carolina, 4 touchdowns and 45 possessions to Eastern Illinois. That's horrible. Yeah. What is too great of a deficit for the Gamecocks to be able to make a comeback from?
I don't think you could be behind by more than like 21. I think at that point would be a little insurmountable. Of course, you never know if your defense tightens, but you're down 21-0. That means either their offense is scored 3 times, or you've had a turnover on offense, their defense has scored, God forbid, or they got a special team score. And at that point, it's just going to be tough to come back, I think, in my opinion, just because that will mean South Carolina's got some 3-and-outs on offense. Maybe there's a turnover the Gamecocks have committed, all that stuff. But, you're sitting there at 14-7 and you've stopped them, or you have the lead, or it's, let's say it's 10-3. 14-3 to me would get a little iffy, but 10-3, I think you're in striking distance because every team Tennessee's played this year, besides Missouri, and I'm talking legit teams. Bowling Green, no offense to those guys, nice win over Minnesota and all that, but nice, good for Tennessee Tech or whatever. But Pitt, Florida, those teams have made adjustments and have ended up punching back. Of course, Pitt has a really good offense, not so good on defense, but they were able to kind of, of course, Tyon Evans did not play against Pitt, but they were able to kind of, win the game there in Knoxville because they got a good quarterback and they're good through the air. So I think to be realistic about countering and punching back, you can't be behind any more than like 14-3 at the end of the first. Now, if we go by the trends this year, that's probably going to happen. But, maybe the Gamecocks can go up there and reverse that trend. You never know. You get a tip ball, something like that. Momentum can swing in this game in a hurry.
JC Shurburtt, owner of the BigSpur.com. Couple more minutes, and then we'll make our picks here, and then get to Michael Flint. Tyon Evans, 367 yards on the ground, 92 yards per game. But Hendon Hooker's who is getting all the attention, JC. He's been really good for Tennessee. He's been really good, but no offense to all those other teams. I would, with the exception of Florida, clearly, defensively, I think this is the best defense they've seen. And the numbers, back that up. Total defense is 25th in the nation, 12th in the nation in pass defense. Scoring defense is 23rd nationally. So South Carolina's been good there. They've been incredibly opportunistic. Their defense is first in the country with pick sixes. They're third in the nation in interceptions with 9. So I think it goes without saying, right? They got to force turnovers. But here is the whole kicker to this thing. They've been forcing turnovers all year, and they can't score. So it's not the turnovers. That is part one of the equation. Part two, or part 1B, points off turnovers, guys. And, in a game like this, you hate to say, well, you throw a quick hitter because Tennessee's going to come back. They run 2.89 plays per minute. It's remarkably quick. It's first in the league alongside Ole Miss and third in the country. But you might have to have a quick hitter, JC, off a turnover to try to get some momentum building, because this grinded out type offense that they've been trying to execute after forcing turnovers, it hadn't worked.
Oh, it drives me crazy. And look, I'm not saying anybody's right or wrong here. Although, we all have our preferences as far as offensive football goes. And we remember, you remember Steve Spurrier, one of the things he was a master at, and I've seen it with other coaches too. It works. Is shot after quick change.
Yep.
After quick change, take it. In other words, fumble, turnover, somebody muffs a punt and you get it. You block a punt, any kind of quick change, it works to chunk it down the field. Guys, remember the Outback Bowl?
Which one? I've only been there 18 times.
But Jake Bentley, sits there. They get a turnover. Brian McClendon, I think it's probably the only time he did it as the offensive coordinator here, but he did it.
That was his best half of football ever.
Chunked it right in the end zone to Brian Edwards, up high where only he could get it, touchdown. And that's the kind of thing that can really help your momentum, and it demoralizes the other team. Because, here's a turnover, and then all of a sudden their defense is out, they don't get set, or they're not ready, and then boom, you go right at the guy, you make a big play, and it's 6. And I think one of the big criticisms of Marcus Satterfield's play calling, especially last week, was up the middle after quick change, and look, there's a school of thought where if you get to the line real quick and run a quick hitter up the middle, he just, and the defense didn't set, go. But they weren't really doing that, were they? They're just kind of getting up there and plodding along. And I think that this team has evolved enough as a passing team to where it's realistic to do that. I didn't know that. I mean, I'm shocked because we're kind of sitting here talking about what we thought would be a strength as a weakness, and then vice versa. But you got Josh Vann, you got an E.J. Jenkins coming on. Jalen Brooks, knock on wood, did not drop any passes last week. He's looking better. You got Jaheim Bell, Nick Muse in the passing game. You got the backs. I think if South Carolina has to throw it, they're in better shape than maybe people thought. And that's honestly, when you look at Tennessee's defense this year, where the weakness has been. They've given up quite a bit of yards running the football, and only Florida's really the outlier where they gave up a bunch of running yards, and 144 of the 283 the Gators had was by Emory Jones, the quarterback, and we know what Mullen likes to do with that. So,
yep.
I'm with you there, man. Quick after quick change, quick strike. But again, that's my preference. But not every offensive coordinator in the country does it.
Tennessee gives up 34.33 points per game in FBS games this year. 41 against Pitt, 38 against Florida, 24 against Missouri. And they are 8th nationally with 42 tackles for loss. As JC said, they've done a pretty good job at stopping the run. Beamer and Satterfield, props to Ben Portnoy at the State. wrote a great article about this, who spent time on the staff up there 20 years ago under Phil Fulmer. Greg Adkins was an offensive line coach up there for 6 seasons as well. So they're heading back to a place they know very well. But of all the information we've already discussed today, the number 8 just continues to stand out for me. 8% since the EIU game. That's how many possessions we have scored a touchdown in on offense. It's horrible. 4 of 45. That's going to have to improve dramatically this weekend to have a prayer. JC, before we spend the last 3 minutes here, and you're going to have to be quick on your picks today. You only have 7 of them, so I think you can do that. Before we get there, give me some names that you're watching this weekend. If South Carolina's to pull an upset on Rocky Top, these guys need to play well.
I'm going to go with E.J. Jenkins. Thought he kind of had a glimmer. You saw kind of a glimmer of what he could do last week. He's a matchup nightmare. He's not scared, coming from FCS. You think, well, he's got to make an adjustment. And it's hard to stop him, and he's a guy that can bail a young quarterback out. I think Josh Vann will be important in this game, Jaheim Bell. And I'm going to go with the offensive lineman too. Vershawn Lee actually had a really good game last week. The other 4 didn't.
Yep.
If those guys can step up, I'm going to have my eye on them. On defense, what I'm looking for from the defensive line, and Tennessee's okay on the offensive front, don't get me wrong. The defensive line this year at South Carolina has been pretty good at, not necessarily getting home on sacks, but batting balls in the air, tipping balls, playing quick, getting there, they call it affecting the quarterback.
Yeah.
And they've been really good at affecting the quarterback. And so, Tennessee kind of likes to run the quarterback a little bit. They like to get on the perimeter, like to run the football and go fast. But, South Carolina's defensive line is very athletic, very good. They kind of have set up the secondary for some of these picks and things like that. So, I think with that defensive line, which is obviously much better than Missouri since they fired their D-line coach, I think that could be problematic for Tennessee because you're going fast, batted ball, tip ball, sack. That's kryptonite to a team that runs that style of offense because you're going 3 and out in 30 seconds and putting your defense back on the field.
I totally agree. I absolutely totally agree. I think once again, this is going to be on the backs of the defensive line to muddy the waters in this thing. Cam Smith needs to make a play this weekend. Somebody's going to try to pick on him, and he's going to need to make a big play for Carolina. Jalen Foster has garnered much of the attention thus far, but Cam Smith, he needs to have a big day tomorrow is one of my predictions. All right, JC, we'll get you some picks in and get you out of here. We'll lead off at noon tomorrow on ABC, Texas and Oklahoma, the site of game day and the Texas State Fair from the Cotton Bowl in Dallas wins.
I'm going to go with Texas. Oklahoma's been living dangerously. When you live dangerously, sometimes you don't fix what the issue is, and they're going to have to fix it. So I'm going to go with the Longhorns. I think they've improved since that loss to Arkansas. And this series, it kind of goes back and forth, and you expect the unexpected. So I think the Longhorns will take a win in what will be an SEC game soon.
Sticking with the theme of noon, Arkansas and Ole Miss both got their bells rung last week against the 2 best teams in the league. Somebody's going to recover this week on ESPN from Vaught Hemingway in Oxford. Who is it?
I'm going to tell you this. I don't expect Ole Miss to go up and down the field on Arkansas like they have everybody else. Could be wrong because anything can happen. But Arkansas played them well last year. 6 picks for Matt Corral. Arkansas won the game last year. I think it's going to be close, but I'll go Ole Miss to rebound by a field goal.
Ooh.
Our thinking is, for another consecutive week, our thinking is scarily in line. Again.
That's because y'all are scary people. Good news. Halloween's coming up. Georgia's at Auburn. Auburn went to LSU. Maybe pulled a stunner of sorts, but the Dogs ain't LSU. They get them in Jordan-Hare. But it's Georgia who wins.
Yeah, it's the first real hostile environment Georgia's played in. Their road game was at Vandy, and they played Clemson and Charlotte. This is a little bit different animal. The only way I think Auburn wins this game is if Bo Cephas Nix just runs around and makes crazy plays and that all day. And they find a way. I haven't seen a defense like this Georgia defense in a long, long time. So I think Auburn's going to have trouble scoring. Say what you want about Georgia's offense. They've been very efficient. I think the Dogs win. They may not cover, maybe like 14, 6, 15-ish, something like that. But I think the Dogs win by double digits.
Good pick. Notre Dame, Virginia Tech. This is now a pick'em game, 7:30 on the ACC network. There's going to be a lot of eyeballs on this. This could be really good in Lane Stadium. Do the Hokies pull an upset?
I'm going to go with Notre Dame. They let me down tremendously last week. I was adamant they beat Cincinnati. I think they'll get back up off the mat. Not sold on Virginia Tech, really, since that first one. Notre Dame probably escapes, but by a field goal.
How about LSU? Is this one of Coach O's last games? Is it his last game? They're on the Commonwealth of Kentucky, where Mike Morgan is now a converted Wildcat fan. He's not calling the game, but I'm assuming he'll be pulling for him since he's married to a Kentucky girl now. 16th ranked Kentucky, by the way. Does LSU go up and lose against Mark Stoops'
third straight huge game for the Wildcats against Gold Tigers? LSU's back is against the wall. And so you would think, LSU could go up there and win because that's kind of what happens sometimes. LSU can't run the football, guys. They're a lot like South Carolina.
Yep.
Funny they hired the offensive coordinators from the same place, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with Big Blue in one that's not as close as the Bluegrass Miracle was.
No.
Or that time that Rich Brooks beat Les Miles' national championship team.
And finally, South Carolina and Tennessee. We all know where this line is at 10.5. We all know what the matchups are. We've discussed all of those. JC,
I hate making predictions on scores because I'm not very good at it, number one. And number two, football games to me are based on different scenarios playing out. So it's really hard. But I have to because it's my job.
Yep.
And I picked Tennessee to win 31-14 just because, until they score more than a touchdown in a game, you'd kind of be foolish to say this is the week the offensive explosion happens. You're like Randy Quaid in Major League at the beginning. This is the year, guys, Yeah. And it's just not, out there in, right field. Hey, mild thing, whatever. And so I can't say they're going to do it until they do it. I will say that running the numbers, those of you out there that want to sit there and, think that Tennessee is the reincarnation of 2020 Alabama on offense, go take a look at Missouri. I think the Gamecocks could go out in Missouri right now and rush for 300 yards. So that's how bad their defense is. And as bad as South Carolina is, I think that's it. But I have to stick with what I picked. I picked it Thursday. Maybe wish I'd have checked in the numbers a little bit. But like I said, until this offense can score more than one touchdown a game, guys, hey. But and I'll give you one more stat, though. Carolina has faced the number 1, number 5, and number 11 total defenses in the country in Georgia, Kentucky, and Troy. Troy's number 5. So, Tennessee's not quite up there. So maybe they do get the run game going. Maybe we look at it next week and say, well, that was really just a product of them playing good defenses. I'm not going to predict that, but it could.
There'd be a lot of happy Gamecock fans if that is true. Certainly Carolina in search of their 4th win, first in the SEC under Shane Beamer, first in their SEC in the last 9 tries if they can get it this weekend. TheBigSpur.com's got you covered totally headed into the ball game tomorrow, during, and after, and pretty much every other time. They never sleep over there at TheBigSpur.com. It's a great time to join. $1 for 2 months. What? Come on. TheBigSpur.com. The owner is sitting right there, JC Shurburtt. Have a wonderful weekend, my friend. We really appreciate it as always. Glad you're feeling better, and glad your hair is I'm glad you have hair.
All right. Thanks, guys. I see we got a little text that says Carolina's going to return a kickoff for a touchdown. I'd like to see that. That's another and that's
an
one
interception.
Of those scenarios, right?
Punt return, kick return, interception return, fumble return, field goal. Carolina wins 31-30. How about that? No offensive touchdown. 31 points. Yeah,
what? I don't know. I'll sing some Les Mis. I have a dream. Whatever. Yeah. All right, guys. I'll see you next week. I'll have this voice fixed by then, and looking forward to talking to you. And hopefully,
no doubt,
I'm in a better mood than I've been the last 5 weeks.
Doesn't matter. You still look good. See you, man. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, fellas.
JC Shurburtt, owner of the BigSpur.com. Power Hour here on the Big Gamecock Preview Show, brought to you by Wando Power Equipment, wandopower.com for all of your rentals and service and purchases. Everything outdoors at Wando Power Equipment on Daniel Island. Final timeout. When we return, Michael Flint, Gamecock offense, Tennessee defense, Tennessee offense, Gamecock defense, special teams, game picks, and then we're off to our weekends. Right here on the Big Gamecock Preview Show, part of JB and Goldwater. Hopefully, you won't ever need legal help for a catastrophic injury or health issues from a medical drug or device. But if you or a loved one suffers injury or loss, Motley Rice LLC is a nationally recognized law firm that is right here in Mount Pleasant at 28 Ridgeside Boulevard. Thank you, Motley Rice, for sponsoring the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show. Visit motleyrice.com for more. motleyrice.com.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right. We take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan, subject to lender approval.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
And what you're about to see is a spectacle unto itself. Let's enjoy.
On the South Carolina Fairgrounds, a stampede this morning. Beautiful blue skies, but the forecast tonight is for a blackout.
The crowd is about to go crazy, by the way. 80,000 people. They've sold this place out for the last 6 years in a row.
It's a complete sellout. A crowd tonight of over 85,000 strong, ready to explode, just as they do each time their fighting Gamecocks are introduced.
This crowd, the atmosphere that's going to be in that stadium, South Carolina needs to hold on to that as long as they can.
And so this frenzied crowd ready for the kickoff. And the rave breaks out in Columbia.
This is Patrick Davis, and you're tuned into the Gamecock Preview Show, brought to you by Motley Rice and served by my Whiskey Jam Whiskey. Go Cocks.
1:43 Friday afternoon. Big Gamecock Preview Show presented by Motley Rice, as our friend Patrick Davis just said. Patrick is taller than I am, so is Michael. Michael was a wide receiver at South Carolina, so that makes sense. He joins us now. Michael Flint, the original 1'9", at about 1:45 here on this Friday afternoon. What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
I would hope that you weren't shorter than me at wideout. Of course, we have had some short little dudes out there like Scotty Spurrier and Ace Sanders. I think I was taller than him, too.
Yeah, he's a little more athletic, though.
Yeah, just a bit.
Oh, give me a break. I don't want to hear that. Never mind. Next week, we're going to have Garcia fill in so we can get all the fines in the world. All right, man. So look, you and I, by the way, I'm sorry I've been meaning to call you back, but I was asleep last night when you were all liquored up calling me at 10 o'clock. I woke up this morning. I said, damn, Michael must have been drinking another bottle of wine by himself.
Oh, man. Up working.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Me too. So Mike, you and I have talked about this a couple times this week. It's a tough matchup for South Carolina. It's not necessarily because Tennessee's unbeatable. It's not true. They've already been beaten a few times this year, and they're going to get beaten more. They're not flawless. Their offense isn't perfect. Their defense isn't perfect or anything like that. This really, to me, centers back to one thing. Carolina hasn't been capable of scoring. And until they prove to us that they are capable of scoring more than one touchdown a game, it's really hard to predict them to even hang in a game against a team that can score. Not saying they're going to score 40, and not even saying they're going to score 30, but clearly if you score about 20, that's plenty to beat South Carolina, and this offense eventually will wear you down, and they'll be able to plug another touchdown or two on the board. So how do you play a game like this? Okay, you've got that Vols offense, 2.89 plays per minute, up and down and up and down. Carolina's defense has been pretty good. But on the offensive side of the football, what's the strategy for South Carolina? How can they find a way not only to, put a point or two up, but utilize their offense as maybe their best defense as well?
Yeah, and I'm gonna go back to what Darren said at game 4. You are what you are at this point. And, going back and watching the game against Troy, I think we did a lot of good things, but, we're still seeing a lot of the same struggles that we've seen so far throughout the course of the season. And, we talk about a lot of things, having success on first down, ball control, the clock, and really, really keeping that Tennessee offense off the field. But it's tough. I mean, with the way that Tennessee runs their offense, it can wear a defense down. And this game could get out of control if our defense is continuously on the field. Because I think we have a really, really good defense. But the more they're on the field and the more plays they're out there for, it's tough on those guys, especially those big guys up front. And for the offense, for us, I think it's sustaining drives, doing the little things right, not having dumb penalties to put us in first and long situations. I think that's going to be huge this game, is really playing within ourselves and having success on first down and not being so predictable. I think we kind of need to open this thing up, because I really think some of the talent that we have on the outside at receiver is I think it's starting to show. I think we're, better than some people originally, had thought. I think Jalen Brooks is really starting to get comfortable. I said earlier in the year, there was a couple of big catches he had. I believe maybe it was East Carolina, that it was like finally he's made that tough catch, and he can get that, out of his head, really thinking about having to catch the ball rather than just reacting. And I think he's really stepped up, and seeing, Josh Vann come out, seeing Jaheim Bell, seeing EJ Jenkins, and even DeCarrion Joyner at times, has flashed. The drops I think are magnified because they've been on fourth down, but even he's come out a little bit and made some tough catches and some tough plays. So I think opening up the offense and getting the ball in our playmakers' hands and letting them make plays is going to be critical this game. And we've got to be able to throw the ball. Obviously, we have not had a lot of success running the football. I don't anticipate a lot of that changing unless, we see something different up front with the line and some of the, schematically, some things we're doing differently. But, I think getting the ball to our playmakers' hands and opening up the offense a little bit can help the defense and really sustaining drives and getting into the red zone and scoring points.
EJ Jenkins, Michael, he's a matchup nightmare, and he's another guy that people feel like he's starting to kind of get his feet underneath him a little bit. He might have been one of the reasons that one of our Wando brethren, Notre Smith, decided to transfer from the program earlier this week. When you look at EJ Jenkins and you look at the lack of production that he's had thus far, for whatever reason that is, they mentioned his practice habits and things like that. Now he's starting to get in there a little bit. They played him a lot last week. What type of matchup do you see with him for opposing defenses, and how can he, in what role can he be a real asset to Luke Doty, who clearly has ability, but he's still trying to kind of get his feet back underneath him as well from from that injury. And let's all remember, this is Luke Doty's 5th career start.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think he is a matchup nightmare, whether, it's kind of almost TBD kind of, honestly, of how we're going to see him used. We saw him more so lined up in the slot, as a slot receiver rather than tight end. And, depending on how Tennessee, decides to defend him, do they leave a safety in there, kind of as that additional run support, or do they have a corner in there, who can maybe cover a little better? But, it's tough because, it's the height is a disadvantage along with the speed. I do like, how we're getting Doty outside the pocket, trying to get him a little more comfortable. Just seems like he's not as comfortable inside the pocket. He seems to rush things a little bit, panic a little bit too early when the pocket really starts to kind of break down and stepping up and sliding one way or another and feeling the pressure. So I think, dragging these guys across the field, especially like E.J. Jenkins, some of those catches that he made, coming across the field, getting Doty outside the pocket, and really having Doty just all he needs to do is high point it and just let E.J. Jenkins go up and be an athlete and high point the ball, because there's probably not a guy on that field who is going to take a ball out of the air over top of him. So really just putting it where he can get it and, let your athletes make plays for you.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, right? You're the man, you know this stuff. I was you and myself and you're, some other folks were hanging out after the ball game last week, having a conversation about this offense, and recreating the pocket came up. Remember this conversation? We were talking about how the bootlegs and rolling Luke Doty out. He looks much more comfortable getting out there and throwing on the run, and kind of recreating that pocket for him. Explain that. Why do you do that? And now that it's on tape, Michael, what does that mean for Marcus Satterfield as the offensive coordinator moving forward? How do you utilize that to your advantage?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, Luke Doty, kind of his comfort level in the pocket just doesn't seem, really high right now. He looks, he looks to be real timid. His feet, just by looking at his footwork, and it could be, related to the injury and just a little bit of discomfort in it. But, I think we say recreating the pocket or shifting the pocket is getting him outside of, from behind center and having some of those linemen and getting outside, whether it's bootlegs or sprint out passes, and having those linemen help, kind of blocking in a different way and allowing him to, throw on the run, be on the run a little more, not feel, I guess so compacted back there in the pocket with the pressure, and not having, being able to feel, see the pressure versus feeling the pressure. And I think it's just his comfort level right now, I think, is more so outside of the pocket and shifting that pocket for him where he's kind of on the move and not really planted back there. Cause, he just, in looking at some of the game, he just, while he's there, he doesn't looks like he's rushing things. He looks like he's kind of keying on that first read and not necessarily reading the defense, but looking at guys and, looking and seeing if that first read is not there, it becomes a little more uncomfortable. And I think that's just gaining an understanding of the offense and just getting comfortable in the system. And I think moving him out and allowing him to see everything a little clearer is really beneficial and helpful for him.
So how do you call plays now that that's on tape? What do you do here?
You got to be creative with how you do it. You can't just sprint out, sprint left, sprint right. When you do that, you tend to eliminate half the field because you're on the move. And so it's being able to build off that kind of stuff, whether you do it through the play action game from under center or out of the gun, play action bootleg or, sprint out, but also being able to build off of it. And I say, come back to a throwback tight end screen or being able to go back across the field. You flood one side and then you sneak a guy across the other way and, try to get him up the sideline or, however which way you do it. But
that was the Busta Anderson play under Spurrier.
Yes, that's exactly right. Exactly right. And whether you utilize it in the screen game or, trying to, slip guys out the other way, trying to build off of how you do that. So I think doing what, keeps Doty comfortable. Granted, you can't do it, all the time, but I think we can really utilize that and then build on it as well throughout the course of the game.
Counters. Run a counter. Run a damn counter. I'm just kidding. By the way, it was Busta, not Buster. Whoever that doofus was on TV that was calling the game years ago. Oh, Buster Anderson. Yeah, call him that to his face. He's going to bust a cap. Never mind. All right, Mike. On the flip side of the football, this offense for Tennessee flies, right? 2.89 plays per minute. It's shattering speed. What do you do? How do you defend that defensively?
I think, just from a defensive standpoint, this defense is playing really well. I think we're getting, a lot of the talent out of these guys, making the most of their abilities. Just seeing what Brad Johnson has been able to do has been really cool with the amount of time he's been there and the effort that he's put in and how hard he plays. I know it's got to be rewarding for him. But I think, we're really disciplined and for the most part in how we play defense. And I think, it's a direct reflection of the coaches we have, from the front, the defensive line all the way back to the secondary. We've done such a good job of having guys in position to make plays. I think the way we use, some of our more talented players per se, especially a guy like, JJ Inibare, and seeing him, blitzing up the middle, coming off the edge, almost like you never know where he's going to be, but you always have to account for him. And so it throws defenses off. And I think we've done a really good job of utilizing our guys' strengths and, being able to hide some deficiencies with the way we play up front. And so it's a tall task. It's a lot of it is putting Tennessee in predictable situations. I think with the Missouri game last week, I think Tennessee kind of struck lightning in a bottle, similar to the way we, played against Georgia when we I think we beat them 31-7. There's nobody expected it. It was a couple big plays early, some huge defensive stops, sack, touchdown, then take a punt to the house, and all of a sudden you're up 21-0. It's just nothing can go right for that other team, and it's just everything seems to go right for one team and nothing for the other. So I think that was kind of what happened last week. But I think if we can make Tennessee more one-dimensional, put them in predictable situations, second and long, third and long type situations, and have success on first down, I think the defense can put us in a chance to win the football game. It's going to be tough. But, I think we have to be able to limit the amount of plays that Tennessee runs. And I know it's going to be tough, but I like the way our defense has been playing and creating turnovers. I think that's another huge thing is creating turnovers. And I know we're tops in the leagues in interceptions. Jalen Foster's another guy that is just, he's always around the football and becoming the leader of the defense. And, with what he's been able to do, with those interceptions, being around the ball, creating turnovers has been really, really key for this defense. And it goes back to the offense has got to be able to create points off turnovers for us to win games. And that's what we haven't been able to do.
And when you create those turnovers, you got to put points on the board. That's part of our buy or sell segment this week with Jeff McCarriger, realtor with Carolina One here in the low country of South Carolina. Jeff.McCarriger at carolina1.com. Will South Carolina force 3 or more turnovers this weekend against Tennessee? I actually personally think that Tennessee will turn the football over 3 times this weekend. Sometimes when you run fast, especially against good defenses, those type things happen. The problem is, can you score off of that? By the way, a quick special teams note here. If Parker White kicks a field goal this weekend, he will tie Elliott Fry for second all-time at South Carolina with 66 field goals made. That'll put him 6 shy of tying the school record and 7 shy of setting it. Colin Mackey has owned that record for quite some time. Mike, you want to make some picks before we get you out of here?
Let's do it.
All right. Tomorrow at noon in the Big 12, the Red River Shootout. It's not PC correct around here, boys and girls. Oklahoma and Texas play. That's game day in the Cotton Bowl. Michael, who wins?
That's a tough one because I think both teams aren't as really strong as they're made out to be, but I think Oklahoma's a little bit stronger, so I'm going to go with the Sooners.
Okay. Darren?
I am going Texas. I'm a big believer with what the Texas Longhorns have going on right now, and I am not a believer in the Oklahoma defense, number one, or their consistency on offense.
Texas wins this game. It's going to eliminate the Big 12 from the college football playoff, and I think Texas wins. I agree with you, Darren. I agree with JC earlier. I think the Longhorns win, and Arkansas owns the Big 12. All right, Arkansas. Speaking of them and Ole Miss, they got their rear ends kicked last weekend. Both of them did. Somebody's going to win this one though. They're playing in Vaught Hemingway, looking to get back in the win column. Michael, who wins? Could be a bunch of points in this game. We'll see who wins.
Yeah, there could be. I think Ole Miss has a good team. I think they learned a lot off Alabama. I think that Alabama hangover is real, as we've seen previously. But I just think Ole Miss's offense is a little too strong, and I'm a roll with the Rebels.
I'm with Mike there. I think this was a tough one to pick because, like he said, the Alabama hangover is real. It's going to be real, too, when you're bouncing back from playing Georgia. They just flat out beat you up. I like Ole Miss. I like it close and in the 30s.
I like Ole Miss, too. Yeah, Lane Kiffin's the perfect guy to get you back on track after a loss. They probably were playing cards or something after the game. Whatever. Go on. Yeah, Ole Miss wins at home. Arkansas, they hit a bump in the road here, but they'll get back on track in the next couple of weeks. Georgia and Auburn.
Popcorn.
Yeah, that's right. Georgia and Auburn. I've got the Dogs, and I've got them with probably a late cover on this thing as well. Even though I like Auburn and what they've done over there on the Plains, Georgia wins. Mike.
Yeah, I think Georgia's one of the best teams in the country, and
Georgia's Georgia.
I don't see Georgia losing a game until we hit the SEC championship. And that could potentially not be one either.
Yeah, they might not lose that either.
Exactly. What's the line at right now, JB? What do you have that at?
It had changed a little bit. 15. Yeah, it's down to 15.
Right. So Georgia wins and covers.
Yeah, I think they.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm with both of you. Georgia's 28-10 type thing.
More.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Notre Dame and Virginia Tech. I'll go ahead and throw mine out there. 7:30 ACC Network. I like the Hokies at home. I think they get the best of the Irish and upset Notre Dame. Notre Dame out of the New Year's Six with this loss. Mike.
I'm with you on that. I like Virginia Tech at home, and I'm gonna roll with the Hokies as well. That's a tough one, but I'm going Virginia Tech.
Yeah, this is another tough one. I had Notre Dame losing to Cincinnati. I got Notre Dame bouncing back and winning. It's almost like an open quarterback competition now with Notre Dame. The way they rotated towards the end of that game. Is it going to be the Wisconsin transfer? They got a couple of young guys in there too. There are some articles out this week about maybe this is the time to make that transition with a little bit more experience for some of the younger guys. Notre Dame bounces back here. They need to bounce back.
Yeah, this is a tough one. It's a pick 'em game. That's why it's like that. All right, Kentucky and LSU. LSU has no idea who they are. Kentucky knows exactly who they are. They get this game on the Commonwealth at night, Michael. Does Kentucky stay undefeated against Coach O and the Bayou Bengals?
Well, I think this is a tough one because it's kind of been uncharted territory for Kentucky with how much success they've had. Some teams, when you start see the publicity around the program, you start getting hyped up. This is that one game that comes back to bite them, and it's the one where they just don't play well. But I think this Kentucky team is a good football team. And now you're right about LSU. It's a tough one, but I'm gonna roll with Kentucky in that rushing attack.
Mm-hmm.
There's no real logic for where I'm going with this, other than I am not sold on Kentucky at all. That offense is just not good enough to move the football consistently. They shouldn't have beaten Florida last week. Yes, it's a decent defense, and LSU's backs are so hard pressed up against that wall. I just think that's the difference. I think LSU finds a way to win in a game that's going to be virtually unwatchable.
Yeah, Michael said, getting all jacked up, and you gotta understand how to win. I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dews for the Wildcats. I think Kentucky wins. I really do. I think it's an ugly game, and they win. That's the way they win. That's Kentucky. Penn State and Iowa, Michael. This is this is going to be a lot of fun. Talk about a slobber knocker. Yeah, slobber knocker. I love that word. Penn State's got a head to Kinnick, 4 o'clock on Fox, 4-3 matchup, top 5 game here in the Big Ten. Who wins?
Oh, this is a tough one, but and looking at it, I think I'm gonna roll with the Hawkeyes. I think the Hawkeyes got a good team, disciplined. I think they win.
You're right. They have a good team. They're disciplined. They're similar to the Gamecocks in the sense they're able to force turnovers. Where they're different, they score off of them. All but 2 of their drives in rolling up points last week against Maryland were less than 60 yards. 7 turnovers, almost all of them turned into points. If the Sean Clifford of this year plays, and not the Sean Clifford of last year, which Iowa can absolutely pull that out of him. But if the Sean Clifford of this year plays, and if Dotson can get involved and get involved early, I think Penn State wins that. It's going to be higher scoring than people think. I like the over more than I like Penn State. But I like Penn State.
But you like Penn State. I like Kinnick Stadium is in Iowa City, and right behind them is that Children's Hospital, and they all wave at each other at the end of the first quarter. Yeah, Iowa wins. All right.
Well played.
Yeah, I know. South Carolina and Tennessee, Mike. It's a tough matchup for the Gamecocks. This series in the last 16 games, 8-8. It's been incredibly balanced. A 5-point margin of victory is the average margin of victory in this series over the last 9 contests. It's the closest one in the league still. Tennessee, we own this series. Okay. Yeah, you own the 90s. It's 2021. Got a feeling that it could happen again this week. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, South Carolina offensively, we are what we are. And I think defensively is the same. And the way we've been able to create turnovers and the way we've been able to play defensively, I think we provide the offense a little bit of a spark based on some of these turnovers and plus side of the field. I think the offense can find a little bit of lightning in a bottle as much as you can with how we are right now. And I think Carolina slips up, and I think South Carolina wins this one. I think it's going to be
holy smokes.
Point thing.
Boy, you were up drinking late last night.
With the Gamecocks. I'm going with the Gamecocks. They're going to surprise some people on Saturday.
Mike, if they win this game tomorrow at noon, you're going to have to come pick me up because I won't be able to drive anywhere. But we're going to go celebrate, okay?
Okay. This isn't going to surprise either one of you where I'm going with this pick.
No, it's not.
I think Tennessee wins. I was right there with JC, but since he kind of threw that number out, I didn't like his 14 for the Gamecocks because that means 2 touchdowns. So I'm going 37-13 in Tennessee's favor. I think Hendon Hooker has a big day. I think the edges of South Carolina's defense have a little bit of trouble. I don't think you run the ball well at all again. And I think it's a long day on Rocky Top.
I think Tennessee wins the game. I'll just come out and say that. I actually think that tomorrow we're going to be a little bit – I saw enough last week offensively, like Michael was saying, where there's not only an effort, there is an execution to do some things a little bit different, a little bit better. If they get the penalties cleaned up, I actually think Carolina is going to be a little bit better offensively than people think that they will be. Because I do think that they put a building block down last week. I just don't think it's going to be enough to be able to overcome the Vols tomorrow in a just a difficult matchup. I've kind of leaned this way all week. People probably figured that was coming. But Tennessee wins if South Carolina wins. If South Carolina wins, Michael will be picking me up at 3:30 tomorrow in his truck. And we're going to 5 points. 5 points. Here we come, Mike. We're going to go tear down the goalposts at Williams-Brice and do what they did against New Mexico State in 2000. Walk them to 5 points is exactly what will happen.
Yeah, you just got to get a little more creative offensively.
Yeah. Well, it was there last week. They got to get the penalties cleaned up, and they got to be able to build off of that. They can't just keep doing that. That's why I asked you earlier, what do you do now that that's on tape? It's on tape. So what are you going to do about it? We'll see.
Yeah, I think clearly seeing Doty. I think Doty needs to continue to build a little bit better rapport with the receivers. Looking at it, I think there's opportunity to clean things up with some, the communication piece, kind of that unspoken of, there was a couple balls that should have been back shoulder throws, downfield, whether it be in the red zone or a deep ball. making that back shoulder throw. And that's kind of where the receiver and quarterback have to be on the same page. And that's where Doty's really got to continue to grow with his receivers if we're going to have any success on offense.
No question, man. That's why you're here, to tell everybody the things that I don't know how to explain it. Hey, appreciate it, brother. I'll give you a shout later on. Wonderful job as always. And I hope you're right.
Hey, me too. All right, guys. Y'all have a good one.
See you, man.
There you go, Michael Flint, the original 1-9, former wide receiver at South Carolina. It is National Hero Day. Whoever your hero is, celebrate them. Mine, personally, are my parents, my mom and my dad.
No doubt.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you, JC. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Raphael. Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful weekend. We can't wait to be back at noon on Monday. This has been the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show, both very proudly presented by Motley Rice, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, and served by Whiskey Jam. Darren, 7:30 tonight on My TV Charleston, high school football. Hope you'll tune in. Hope you'll tune in at noon on Monday. See you then.